First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
The UF weather radar showing showers and storms starting to form in north central Florida. This is after Gilchrist County saw heavy rain and lightning earlier this afternoon. We are in the middle of a stormy trend with our viewing area. This is WFT's First at 5. I'm Sarah Hauer.
And I'm Kade Sowers. Those storms are packing very heavy rain and winds over 40 miles per hour. Let's get right over to UF forecaster Desiree Waters, who's tracking these storms.
Showers have developed again, but now they're moving a little bit north towards I-10 in Suwannee County, and we're going to continue to track those. Let's take a little closer look. As you can see, some heavy rain here up in Jasper and also Live Oak as well. And yesterday we had about 2 inches of rainfall in certain areas in Alachua County. Gainesville saw over an inch and almost 1.5 inches of rain here as well. And now looking at our temperatures right now, it's currently 90 degrees in Gainesville. Lake City, a little bit cooler at 80, but that's also around the I-10 area where they are experiencing some of those showers. And this afternoon, we're going to continue to look at that rain that could potentially going into the evening. 70% chance of rain going on later on today, but that's going to disappear as we go until tomorrow. More on that when we come back later.
UF's Board of Trustees voted unanimously last night to have former UF President Kent Fox serve as interim president. This comes after the resignation of current President Ben Sasse. We told you last week Sasse is resigning to focus on his family, primarily health issues with his wife. His last day is July 31st, and Fox will take office on August 1st. Fox previously served as UF president from 2015 to 2023.
And Florida A&M University has also appointed an interim president while they search for a permanent replacement. On Tuesday, trustees agreed to bring in retired Pasco Hernando State College President Tim Beard to serve as FAMU's interim leader. This comes after the resignation of President Larry Robinson earlier this month. Robinson will leave the post August 4th. He spent nearly 7 years as president of the state's only historically black public university. Board of Trustees Chair Kristen Harper, who proposed Beard as interim president, says his hiring depends on contract negotiations and approval by the State University System's Board of Governors.
I'm convinced that he's a person of integrity, a collaborator, and what FAMU needs in this interim chapter. Most importantly, he's willing, able, and available to serve.
Robinson's resignation announcement came after FAMU's controversial acceptance and then rejection of a $237 million donation. Trustees will discuss a national search for a new president during a retreat in August. Beard's appointment could last for up to 12 months.
High school athletes in Florida will soon be able to make money off the field through endorsements and other kinds of deals. While saying additional protections are needed, today the State Board of Education ratified a plan that will allow high school athletes to get paid through name, image, and likeness, or NIL deals. The plan, which overhauls a section of the Florida High School Athletic Association's bylaws that govern amateurism, will allow student athletes to brand themselves for commercial endorsements, promotional activities, and through social media. Board of Education Chairman Ben Gibson says the Athletic Association must prioritize the protection of student athletes, most of whom will be minors.
At the end of the day, the number 1 priority is protecting the student athletes. This could be a great opportunity for some student athletes, right? But we want to make sure that they do it in a manner that they're protected and not exploited.
High schools won't be able to use promises of NIL deals to recruit players, and athletes would still be prohibited from being paid for on-field activities, hiring agents, and receiving awards unapproved by the Athletic Association.
And despite the popularity of football, basketball, and baseball athletes to secure potential deals, a Florida high school chess team was the first to ink an NIL agreement. WFT's Bianca Smith spent the morning at Fraser School to play a friendly match with some of the top-ranked chess players in the nation.
Fraser High School is making history in Florida as the first ever school to be offered an NIL deal, but it's not for your typical after-school sport. College Hunks Hauling Junk and Moving Company is partnering up with the Fraser School's chess team. This is the first brand to provide a name, image, and likeliness sponsorship to a Florida high school. Jolie Huang, the 9th best 14-year-old women's chess player in the nation, can't seem to stop smiling.
When I was younger, I never thought chess was a sport. I was like, it's just like a little board game you play for fun. But I think as I played more chess, I really learned how competitive it is.
This award-winning chess team has some notable names, like 11th grader Bianca, who is an international master and 5th best in the nation for his age group. The team originally went to Buchholz High School but transferred to the new Fraser School in Gainesville opening next month. The team has won 4 national championships since 2018. Chess coach Britt Ryerson hopes to bring the winning mentality to the classroom.
Also, I'm hoping to inspire some younger chess players, especially in Gainesville. I'd like some of those kids to come to Fraser School. We are going to have chess in the curriculum in 3rd through 5th grades.
College Hunks says they decided to sponsor the chess team because they want to celebrate mental athletes as well. Bianca was awarded $2,500 individually, and the team was awarded the same amount to help pay for tournament and travel-related costs.
The Olympic Committee has officially recognized chess as a sport, saying that you can burn up to 200 calories per hour when you play. Reporting at the Fraser School, Bianca Smith, WUFT News.
And neighbors in Levy County, if you saw heightened police activity, it was only a training exercise. The Levy County Sheriff's Office notified the public on their Facebook page that the exercises were taking place at Cedar Key High School. And just a few minutes ago at 5 o'clock, sheriff's deputies say there was no danger to the public.
A Marion County teacher is among the 5 finalists for Florida's 2025 Teacher of the Year Award. Earlier this week, Governor Ron DeSantis announced the 5 finalists, with Marion County's Jennifer Brown being one. Brown teaches at Forest High School. Each finalist received a check for $20,000, and the winner will be announced tomorrow, July 25th, at the Teacher of the Year Gala. The winner will receive additional rewards, which will bring their total winnings to $50,000.
And Alachua County is getting a new judge. Governor Ron DeSantis announced Monday that Gainesville's Adam Lee will serve as judge on the Alachua County Court. Lee will be replacing Judge Thomas Jaworski, who will retire back in April. Lee is a managing member at Adam Lee PLLC, where he has worked for the last 8 years. He's a double gator, getting both his bachelor's and Juris Doctorate from UF.
Coming up next when First at 5 returns, protesters flocked to the nation's capital to protest the arrival of Israel's prime minister. And Vice President Kamala Harris is working to secure her VP pick ahead of the Democratic National Convention. The short list of politicians she may be considering.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Protesters have lined up outside the U.S. Capitol today ahead of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's address to Congress. This afternoon's speech came at a critical time as the Biden administration continues to push for a ceasefire and hostage deal to bring those captured by Hamas back home. And as Alice Barr reports, his appearance comes on the same day President Biden will address to the nation to discuss the decision to step away from the 2024 presidential race.
In a highly anticipated and deeply divisive move, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today addressing a joint meeting of Congress.
Our enemies are your enemies. Our fight is your fight, and our victory will be your victory.
The Israeli leader making the case for continued U.S. support in the war to eliminate Hamas after its brutal October 7th terror attack.
America and Israel must stand together.
The bloody 9-month conflict has now claimed the lives of more than 30,000 Palestinians, according to health officials in Hamas-run Gaza, and led to a humanitarian crisis.
Are we ready?
Protesters gathering outside the Capitol today, tensions high, as Prime Minister Netanyahu faces widespread criticism for not doing more to protect civilians and to bring home hostages.
I will not rest until all their loved ones are home.
Like American Israeli Sagi Dekelken, whose frustrated father questions the address to lawmakers.
Our Prime Minister, and there's no pleasure in me saying this, has come here for political theater.
Roughly 40 Democrats in the House and Senate planned to skip the speech, and Vice President Kamala Harris chose not to preside over it, instead keeping to a scheduled event in Indianapolis with an historically black sorority as she embarks on her presidential campaign. She and President Biden are set to meet separately with Prime Minister Netanyahu this week, as is former President Trump, all while President Biden prepares to address the nation tonight about his decision to drop his re-election bid and the path forward. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
One of the tasks at the top of Vice President Kamala Harris's to-do list is to choose a potential running mate, and some of the top choices are dodging questions about the position. With less than a month before the Democratic National Convention, Harris's team will have to work fast, vetting potential candidates for the job. Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, who is reportedly on Harris's shortlist for vice president, didn't give a direct answer when he was asked earlier today about whether he would accept the role.
Well, I think the most important thing for her to be focused on right now is the election and the contrast between her and the former president.
Senator Kelly is one of 5 Democrats who are being vetted by the Harris campaign. The others include North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz.
And a new Senate report reveals that the popular payment platform Zelle may put people at risk of fraud. An investigative Senate subcommittee report shows that Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, and Bank of America reimbursed just 38% of fraud disputes in 2023. That leaves $100 million worth of fraud unreimbursed. Ivan Rodriguez explains how a bipartisan group of lawmakers are urging for Zelle to better protect consumers.
Since the pandemic, millions of Americans started using peer-to-peer payment platforms like Venmo and Cash App, but Zelle outpaced its rivals. In 2023, the 3 banks, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo, made up 73% of all Zelle payments. For many consumers, it's an efficient way to transfer money, but Liz Coyle with Georgia Watch says it's important to stay alert.
These apps, that while they may seem convenient, don't have all the protections that you might want them to have.
After an inquiry on Zelle and the 3 banks, the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations found consumers who disputed transactions as scams were unlikely to be reimbursed.
Our analysis found that in 2023, Zelle's 3 largest banks reimbursed victims of these scams only 12% of the time.
In total, these banks rejected scam disputes worth a combined total of approximately $560 million from 2021 to 2023. Cameron Fowler, CEO of Early Warning Services, which owns Zelle, says participating banks are being regulated and that across 120 million users, a majority of the time, there is no fraud or scam.
My point today would be that more energy for all of us needs to shift to the criminals that are perpetrating the crime.
The committee also found bank employees have broad discretion and can deny claims based solely on internal documentation, offering little transparency to consumers. I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
Flash flooding will be possible as heavy rain continues this evening. I will continue to track the storms up next.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Storms have begin to develop again here. As you can see, we're experiencing some storms right now sprinkled across Alachua County. Some of those are also up in Suwannee County, up by Jasper, a little bit heavier rain up there as well. Those storms are all going to continue to kind of go into the night as we move forward. The satellite and radar, as you can see, we have a front. It's staying pretty stationary right now in the south, but that could potentially cause some flash flooding for us as well. We have a flash flooding risk in the south here. It's a little bit higher over there in East Texas and lower Louisiana. For us in north central Florida, it's a little bit of lower chance, but looking at our rain radar, it's going to continue with that moisture going into Thursday, and that heavy rain is going to continue to stay some isolated flood potentially. Also Thursday, you can see that flash flood is going to continue to stick around and move a little bit lower, keeping a little bit more of that heavy rain. Some spaces can even get up to 2 inches of rain per hour. Looking at our future track going into the evening right now, we have some shower sprinkle across here going into the later on. There's even more here, as you can see down in Cedar Key as we get to midnight. As we get into tomorrow morning, those are going to go away, but they're going to potentially come back in the late afternoon on Thursday as well and kind of stick around, and they're going to fade out as we go into Thursday, going into Friday. Taking a look here at our Century Tower live camera, it's about 89 degrees here in Gainesville. Feels like 91 with some rain potential. You can see those clouds kind of already covering here across us here on University campus. And as we move into our temperatures, it's 88 currently in Gainesville right now, 79 and 76 in Live Oak, since they had those storms up in by I-10, north of I-10 there. Going by our hour by hour, currently 7 p.m. we're going to go down. It's going to be some scattered thunderstorms, and those storms are going to hang around about 9 p.m. They're going to come potentially stop around midnight tonight. But as we take a look at our 7-day outlook, as we go into the weekend, we're going to keep that high chance of rain, 80%. And as we move into next week, those temperatures might drop by next week, and those rain chances are going to go down to about 50%. And that is your Wednesday weather with Waters.
With college football now just over a month away, the Florida Gators are gearing up for what looks to be a do-or-die 2024 campaign. See what's in store for this year's Gator squad as they prepare to take back to the turf, and more after the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
I'm Jack Meyer here with everything you need to know about what's going on in the wide world of sports today. We're starting off in the heart of Gainesville as the clock continues to wind down on the return of college football. It was announced this afternoon that the Florida Gators will report to training camp next Tuesday, with practice set to resume the following day. The Gators are looking to bounce back from a disappointing 2023 campaign that saw them fail to qualify for a bowl game for the first time since 2017. There are, however, some signs of hope for this year's Gator squad, including the return of starting quarterback Graham Mertz and the arrival of Max Prep's National Player of the Year, DJ Lagway. All signs point towards this season being a make-or-break campaign for third-year head coach Billy Napier, who has compiled a record of 11 wins and 14 losses in his first 2 seasons in Gainesville. Florida will kick off its 2024 campaign at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium on August 31st against the Miami Hurricanes. Now let's keep this world tour going as we head overseas to Paris, where the 2024 Olympic Games are set to begin this Friday. The University of Florida will be well represented in this year's games, with the record-breaking 40 Gator athletes set to compete. Florida's 40 representatives sets a new program high and ranks 4th in the country across all collegiate programs. Some members of Florida's star-studded delegation include swimmer Caleb Dressel, gymnast Leanne Wong, and track and field standouts Grant Holloway and Parker Valby. UF is also sending 5 coaches to Paris, including women's basketball assistant coach Ryan Howard, who is set to compete herself in 3-on-3 basketball. The opening ceremony for this year's Olympic Games is set to kick off this Friday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Now moving on over to the world of college baseball, former Florida outfielder Michael Robertson has officially announced his commitment to Liberty University for the upcoming 2025 season. Robertson spent the first 3 years of his collegiate career with the Gators before entering the transfer portal last month. The rising redshirt junior compiled a .243 career batting average with UF, starting in 104 games over the last 2 seasons. Robertson had a history of coming through in clutch moments throughout his tenure in Florida, including a walk-off double in this year's Clemson Super Regional to send the squad to Omaha, and a game-winning catch against TCU last season to advance to the College World Series Finals. With Robertson's departure, Florida will now look to find a new starting center fielder to take his place. And finally, Florida basketball alum Andrew Nembhard has agreed to a 3-year, $59 million contract extension with the Indiana Pacers. Nembhard played an integral role in Indiana's dark horse run to the Eastern Conference Finals this past postseason, and from the looks of it, he'll be playing a key part of a blossoming Pacers rotation for years to come.
Well, and Nembhard's got a exciting summer ahead of him. He's playing for Canada in the Olympics.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just when you look at him, he's playing in the Olympics for Canada. He just got as big of a contract as you could ever hope for. Just played for a great playoff team. I mean, that's as good of a summer as you're ever going to find, really.
And he's a Florida Gator.
And he's a Florida Gator, indeed. But speaking of summers, Desiree, how is the July forecast looking for this afternoon?
We're going to keep with that trend of staying hot, 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 and some showers in the afternoon going into this weekend. 80% chance of rain on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Going into next week, Monday and Tuesday, that chance of rain is going to go down to 50%, and we could potentially even get lower temperatures on Wednesday at 88%.
Thanks for joining us. We're back here tomorrow for another edition of First at 5.
But your North Central Florida news is always on at WUFT.org and on all our social media platforms. Have a good night.